So that's one of the many stretches that you can do throughout the day to help survive the desk life and to make sure that your neck stays pain-free, mobile, and flexible. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Alex Ritza, and in this video, we're gonna go over a few stretches and mobility drills and a few keys that you can use throughout your day at the computer to keep your neck pain-free, to keep it from getting stiff, and to keep it mobile and flexible. So we're gonna get to the stretches and the mobility drills that you can use in a second, but first I wanna talk about 3 really important principles to remember when you're at the office or when you're at your home office and when you're working at the computer. Because if you can apply these 3 principles, it's gonna really reduce the amount of repetitive strain that sits on the spine and the repetitive strain on the neck. Because if you can reduce the amount of stress on the neck and on your spine, there's going to be less need for stretching and there's going to be less trauma to the spine that might create some shifts or might create a core problem with the spine. And one of the biggest things that we need to combat is what we call the sledgehammer effect. So the sledgehammer effect is as follows. If we can use the simple analogy of a hammer or a sledgehammer, the head in this case only weighs a couple of pounds. Your head in general weighs somewhere between 12 and 14. And whether because of our posture or if there's an actual structural shift in the spine that leaves the head hanging forward, you can imagine that it's going to create a lot of stress on the spine and on the muscles that's having to hold the head up. And some people, no matter what they do, stretch, massage, acupuncture, traditional chiropractic, they notice that this just won't go away. And so one thing that we really need to mitigate when we're at the office and with our posture is to ensure that the neck is stacked up as much as possible so that these muscles and this part of the spine doesn't have to work as hard and that it's not as stressed. So the 3 principles before we get into our stretches and mobility drills that we need to focus on are as follows. When we're at the office, what we want to do is make sure that as much as possible our ear is nicely stacked up over our shoulders so that we have a nice stacking of the vertebra and less of that sledgehammer effect. Now, it's a tough thing to remember, and that's why we're going to talk about principle number 2. And especially if you are a person that is less than 6 foot, where you might be a little smaller than what the chair is designed for, you might find that often your back does not rest up against the chair, that there's a gap between your back and the chair, and that, again, the muscles of the spine are having to hold up the entire body as you lean forward. And principle number 2 is we want to make sure that the chair is doing its job, that it's holding us up as much as possible and not the muscles of our spine, because we're going to have that same sledgehammer effect if the muscles of the low back are having to hold us up instead of the chair nicely holding us up. And then the 3rd principle to survive the desk life, especially for your neck, is to move as frequently as possible. The gold standard is to move every 15 or 20 minutes and change positions. That doesn't mean you have to lose productivity. What it means though is that every 15 or 20 minutes you should get up, change positions, or simply while you're sitting and working, move around, get the shoulders moving, get the neck moving, and bring some movement into the body so that we can reduce the amount of repetitive strain on the spine. That's what these first 3 principles before we get into the stretches are talking about, reducing the amount of repetitive strain by improving our posture and by improving our movement habits. So now that we've gone over those 3 important principles, let's get into some of the stretches that you can do to help with the desk life. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over 3 stretches for the neck and 2 stretches for the mid-back that you can do at the office fairly inconspicuously that are going to help save your neck. Now, I have one caveat with all of these. These are going to help some of the muscles to remain loose, to take some stress off of the spine, to take some stress off of the nerves, but they're only going to help as much and are going to have an upper ceiling as the health of your neck and spine as it exists at that time. So if you have a significant shift or anterior spinal shift in the neck, if there is a core problem in the neck and that the joints of the neck are not healthy, these stretches can only help so much. They will help, but if the health of the neck is not where it should be and that it might require some professional intervention, you might not get the full benefit out of these. So please keep that in mind. So the first stretch we're going to do is called the chair stretch. And this is great for the side and the front of the neck. And so with the chair stretch, what we do is we're going to grab onto our chair and we're going to first lean the body and then we're going to lean the neck to the side. And we can hold this for 15 seconds up to a minute. Now, a really important thing with the chair stretch is I find that people, when they just try to stretch their neck this way, often it's a really good way to irritate or aggravate the neck because you have to move it so far to actually get a stretch. And by leaning to the side and then stretching, you take all the slack out of the soft tissues in the neck and it's much easier to get a good stretch. To modify this stretch, what we can do is rather than leaning and bringing the neck straight to the side, I like to bring the nose up away from the armpit. You can remember this by bringing your nose up away from a smelly armpit like this. And that'll bring a nice beautiful stretch in here through the front. Excellent. You can do the same thing on the other side. Now this is a stretch that I would recommend doing once per hour, and that will only take 30 seconds to a minute per side. I'll show you from this side just so you can see. Grab onto the chair, lean the body, and then lean the neck away. Or if you're moving away from the armpit, like so. Nice easy breaths in through the belly. The next stretch that we're going to work on is going to be fantastic for the muscles on the back of the neck. And this one we want to be really, really gentle, not using a lot of force. In general, we don't want to use more pressure than say from 1 or 2 fingers. So for this stretch, what we're going to do for the muscles on the back of the neck is tuck the chin backwards over the shoulders, then bring the chin down towards the chest, and then what we're going to do is take our thumb pads and place it on the base of the skull, and we're going to slowly roll the head forward. From this angle, you can see fingers on the base of the skull, roll the chin, and then add a little bit of pressure. That stretch, be really, really gentle and just slightly roll the head forward, and that's going to give a beautiful stretch through the suboccipital muscles at the base of the skull and through the neck muscles. The third stretch that we're going to do is one that we've already hinted on, and it's a really simple chin tuck. It's going to stretch the really small muscles on the base of the skull, known as the suboccipital muscles, that are often very involved with headaches, migraines, changes in posture or structure, and bad neck pain. And for the chin tuck, a couple of cues that we need to think about. You might want to think about bringing the ear back over the shoulder, keeping the eyes level like there are laser beams coming out of them, or giving yourself a double chin. You're not going to feel a really tremendous stretch except for here at the base of the skull. This is going to provide a stretch to those suboccipital muscles and is also going to be the position where the neck is most stacked up and in a most protected position. And last but not least, one bonus stretch that you can do that really is a good mobilization for the neck and also the top of the mid-back is a seated thoracic extension drill. You can almost think about your neck being the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and this is going to focus on the foundation or the base. And for this fantastic drill that you can do as one of your movement breaks every 15 or 20 minutes, or maybe once in the morning and once in the afternoon, we're going to interlock the fingers at the base of the neck, supporting the neck and holding it up, and slowly arching the neck backwards. That great mobility drill is one that you should feel here at the base of the neck just below where your hands are nicely supporting the neck. Now let's go on to some upper back drills that are going to be great movement breaks, but also going to help to maintain that good thoracic structure, allowing the back to move backwards into extension. So for this drill, this is going to be a seated reach back drill. And if you follow any of my other stuff, you know the reach back is my favorite drill for maintaining good posture and structure. And so for the seated reach back, we don't even have to leave our seat. What we do is we take one hand, put it on the floor, we take our other hand, and we're going to bring it up towards the ceiling, remaining seated on the chair, and turning as far as we can, holding for 1 second, and coming back down. What's really great about this seated reach back is that you can either use it as a movement break every 15 to 20 minutes, just doing one per side, or if you want to focus on that mid back and improve your posture, structure, and strength, you can do, say, 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions while you sit at your desk and get a workout in. And last but not least, we're going to go over a full body stretch that you can use as a movement break, and this one is called the Brugger exercise. The Brugger exercise is very much a position of relief drill that you can use to get up out of your chair, do it once an hour, and is going to put us into the opposite position of our sitting hunch forward posture. And so for the Brugger exercise, what we simply do is do the opposite of when we sit. So we stick our chest out proud, we tuck our chin, and then we arch backwards, opening up the arms, the wrists, the hands, the shoulders, holding somewhere for 5 to 20 seconds. A couple of nice big breaths in and back down. And that's going to not only feel fantastic, but is also going to engage the neck and the mid back into an extension position, which is going to give you the best possible chance of maintaining your good posture and structure in the spine. So as always, I hope those principles and that those stretches help you at the office. If you notice that they don't, it could reflect that there's a problem with the spine or the neck that requires professional help. But keep trying the stretches, get up, move as much as you can. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.